We're live in 3, 2, 1.
One live.
Okay, and we have 2 people in, and there are like 90 more people waiting to join.
Hello, everyone.
We're gonna wait, I think, like 3, 4 minutes just to make sure that everyone can join, and then we're gonna start.
All right.
I'm gonna make sure that we enable the Q&A so people can ask questions. It's already enabled. Perfect. Great.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, as you join, why don't you start like writing the name of the country where you're joining from? Okay. Since we do this at Microverse almost every day, but it's so cool to see people from so many places. I'm in Spain today. We have 79 people so far. We have Uganda, Poland, Mexico, Colombia, Uganda, Bosnia, more Mexico, Cameroon. Hi, Tala. More Mexico and Chile, Ethiopia, more Colombia, more Ethiopia, Kenya, Canada, Nigeria, Kenya, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Greece, Jordan, Colombia, Italy, Serbia, Tanzania, Mexico, Macedonia, North
You're you're freezing a bit, Bill, but I don't know if it's you or if it's me. Huh.
Ethiopia,
Yeah. Okay.
can we already, yeah, is it better?
Okay. I think we'll be back soon. Yes. Okay. It's good to it's not me and that it's on the other side. I think Bill will join back. We'll be back soon. Uh, and it gives us more to do. Pretty much wait for everyone to join. Yeah, really, it's frozen. So many people. I'm so happy to see so many people um, join today. I mean, I wish I could interview myself, but um, let's just wait a little bit. But it's, mm, thank you. I'm from Mexico, and I'm in Mexico right now.
Well,
Oh,
now,
here we go.
Alvaro?
Good. Welcome back, Ariel.
There is a big delay. Yeah, I had to switch to my phone's connection. Well, we're almost ready to start. I see. Oh wow, 136 people joined already. That's great. Welcome everyone. So cool to see people from so many different places. And I hope everyone is doing all right. It's such a crazy time in the world right now. I'm guessing, part of the reason why I'm having internet connection issues is because everyone is at home in Spain right now, working from home or not working. It's really sad for so many people. I hope that you're all taking good care, staying at home and, preventing this really bad virus from spreading. But today we're going to try to maybe not talk so much about the current situation so we can stay more hopeful about the future. And we're talking about remote work today, which is what we are already seeing happening with this crisis. So it gives us a lot of hope for what remote work can actually do for the world. So let's just hear the story of Alvaro and how, remote work is actually, being part of his life this past year or so. So I'm going to make sure that we are recording. Perfect, we are. And we have the Q&A. Remember, there are two different tabs. You have the chat and you have the Q&A. In the chat, feel free to put whatever you want. In the Q&A, just put anything that you want to ask me or Alvaro. Please focus on Alvaro, right? He's the star today. I am Ariel, the founder and CEO of Microverse. Alvaro is one of our first students. He was actually student number 3 in the entire school in the year 2018. And he actually joined from Mexico City, and he became the first developer that we actually ever hired at Microverse. And in fact, we have hired 2 of our students ever, and one of them is Alvaro. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit, but most importantly, we're going to be talking about what's what's going well, what's not going so well, what are the things he learned, what are the things that he's liking about remote work, and all those things. Remember, if you have questions for Alvaro, you can go to the Q&A and just put your questions there. So let's get started, Alvaro. And where are you today? No, I can't hear you.
No, it should be unmuted now.
Yeah.
Good. I'm Mexico City after 6 months. It's been quite a journey, and I have to be back. And it's crazy. It's been a crazy journey in the last 6 months, but one very happy that I got the chance to experience.
Where have you been for the past 6 months?
Oh, wow. Well, June last year, I spent a couple of months in California with the whole Microverse team during the Y Combinator experience. And I went to Europe to work with part of the Micro team. There are two hosts that are from Poland. So I was in Poland for a month. And then I went to Ireland, and I visited Portugal, and I was talking Berlin again with first people, and now I'm back in Mexico.
It's one of the things that we see very often with people working remotely, is some people who decide to take that freedom to work from anywhere and just continue working full time and doing a great job, but not necessarily from just one place. And I'm happy, Alvaro, to hear that we're able to to encourage and support that experience. But let's get to talk about maybe before you joined Microverse as a student in 2018. What were you doing before that?
All right. Well, I had a little bit of experience everywhere. I started my professional career, I would say, on like international companies. I worked for Hewlett Packard or IBM, not doing programming, doing something like they like pre-sales. So it was just like kept helping those teams with all technical issues. I then had my first development jobs for again international company made like car electronics. So I was doing systems almost 2 years, and after that, I resigned from there and started like doing a little bit of game development for less than a year as a freelancer, and then I called upon Microverse and decided to join Microverse as a
Okay, perfect. By the way, I'm also hearing some weird noise coming from your microphone every once in a while, Alvaro. I don't know if it doesn't sound like it's the ambience noise. It seems to be like something from your microphone. Something is really good, sometimes it's not too good, and I think a few other people mentioned that in the chat.
Yeah, some people have mentioned it. I can try to switch it, but I don't know if it's going to be better.
If you want to try, we can try. And
I'm gonna quick try there.
Okay.
In a moment.
And I see some questions from Alvaro for Alvaro in the Q&A. Remember, you can ask any question in the Q&A. We're gonna try to go through those questions in a little bit. Let's see if we can, Alvaro, get to fix that microphone issue, and if not, we'll do our best to continue that way. We have 164 people so far. Wow. Okay, let's give this maybe 1 or 2 minutes. I hope that this makes the quality of the audio much better. Let's see. By the way, really good recommendation that I've been using lately. It's a Crisp. It's KRISP. I'll put it in the chat. It is an extension that actually filters the background noise around you, and it does it all based on software. So it's pretty cool how it works. And thanks, Elizabeth, for asking how I'm doing. I'm doing well, actually. Actually, I came to Spain from the US to train a new member that joined the team, Misen. And while I was here, we got into this like lockdown, and now I'm gonna have to stay in Spain for a little bit. But half of my family is here, so things are like I kind of complain, and I already work remotely, so it's actually not a major change for me. But my mom is a dentist, and she had to like shut down her clinic for a little bit now, and people are kind of stressed around like in everywhere and every place. But I would love to hear how are you doing? While we wait for Alvaro, now you're trapped here. Yeah, but I don't feel like trapped. Like it's I think it is what we have to do to control this. I think there are good hopes that we're gonna be able to like put this under control in just like 3-4 weeks, at least to the point where we can then keep it under control and go back to reclaim some of our freedom little by little. So let's stay at home and hope that in 3-4 weeks we go back to almost normal. Yeah, what's going on with Alvaro? Let's see if he can get on microphone. I was talking to Alvaro like half an hour ago, and the audio quality was really good. So I wonder what's going on. People are definitely not jogging here like there are like police people all around, and if just doing their job, and if they see you walking on the street, they might ask whether you are just walking for fun or going somewhere that requires you to walk, and if you say I'm going to the grocery store, they'll be okay with that. Such a good advice, Elizabeth. Pet your pets to reduce stress. Like that is actually, I think, scientific that pets like reduce stress. So if you have pets at home, it's actually really helpful. I miss mine. Mine is with the family of my wife in El Salvador. Hi, Alvaro. Are you joining from your home? Your phone? Okay. Let's see what the quality of the. We can. You're muted. Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah, definitely keep working out from home. Even though you're kind of, staying inside, don't stop from, exercising and working out every day. It is so good, not just for the body, but for the brain. And now that we are, the whole day sitting without, walking, just spend some time moving the body. I'm using an app called Fitbod, Fitbod, and it just creates some, body weight workouts for the house. My mom is doing like ballet uh, and yoga, Pilates classes on Instagram that she puts on the TV. And now she was talking about with the neighbor on the apartment next door to just do lessons at the same time, but from the rooftops of the different houses. It's kind of crazy, but it's funny to see how people are finding ways to like deal with this situation. Okay, I see a lot of questions. Remember to put your questions in the Q&A, not in the chat. That way we can keep track of them and we can answer as soon as we get a chance to ask those questions to Alvaro. Yeah, normally I think you can only see your questions. You can't see the other questions that have been asked, but don't worry about it. I'll start like moderating them to make sure that we try to ask all of them. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? One of my things that in situations like this, people are like, more selfish. They just protect themselves. But we are seeing people every day like putting signs on the elevator and everywhere, just saying, "Hey, if you need help, I am the floor 3, apartment 102, and if you need help, just let me know. If you have an old person in the house that needs help, I'm here to help." Also, pollution is going down in all the cities, which is cool to see that even though we have global warming, that actually with some coordination as the entire world, we can actually reduce how much we're polluting our world. We can take care of that very quickly. So it's interesting. Yeah? By the way, you won't be able to see the other questions being asked, but remember to put your questions in the Q&A. I can definitely see like 20 questions so far. Let's hope that Alvaro can join very soon. He's the star of the show today. Not me, not coronavirus, that's for sure. Actually, I think I just changed a setting, so now you should be able to see all the Q&A that were posted. Let me know if that's the case.
Best I could. I tried with my phone and it wasn't working, so I switched to Safari and hopefully this will work.
No, it's actually the same thing, but it's really weird, Alvaro, because before we were talking and I could hear you perfectly. So I wonder if it has something to do with Big Marker. Like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So should I go? The problem with my phone is that it doesn't connect with it can connect with headphones. Can try to do it on the
It's
phone
it's
completely.
not ideal, but does your computer have a microphone? Like internal microphones are not great, but maybe given the circumstances, maybe it works better than with the AirPods.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I can use internal microphone. Or I can just the phone and
Switch
like use.
switch switch to internal microphone first to see how that goes.
Okay. The marker is not a big.
This is the life of remote workers, right? Like the they you can't hear us, and your volume is super 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 low. We no switch to the other one. Yeah, I promise all of you that we tested everything with Alvaro for half an hour before we started, and everything was perfectly. But this is what happens every time when you do like real time stuff. Yeah, I actually I recommend everyone to use just the wire ones. They're more like trustworthy, good old ones, wire ones. Exactly. We're live, and when you go live, weird things happen. No, actually, we haven't had time, but we have been trying to switch to using Zoom also for the webinars. It just requires some like more changes, but it's just better than Big Marker, so we're gonna do that. Okay, just a few more minutes, and let's wait for Alvaro to come back.
There I am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Well,
Yeah, it's a little low the volume, but the quality is much better.
okay. We'll just have to work with what we have, I guess. I apologize in advance. Yeah, it's weird because when we tested this, it was working, but you know.
That's what I was telling everyone, that we tested this for like half an hour before we started, and everything was perfect. And now, yeah, it's some people were saying also, which I think it's a good idea, to always have the backup like wired headphones, like the Apple ones that
I
work really
guess.
well for me.
Yeah, no, like I really didn't think of this possibility because when I mean, part of the Microverse experience is we have these Friday meetings, and usually the headphones have worked all the time, so that's why I didn't even consider it a possibility. But yeah.
Well, let's go with this. It's what we have, but no, I mean it's a little low the volume, but the quality it's easy to understand you, and there's not much background noise, so I think it's good enough. So, Alvaro, we're asking you, what were you doing before? You talk a little about, some of the different jobs in different industries. Some of them require a little bit of coding. So let me ask you a question. How did you decide? Like, why did you decide to join Microverse as a student? You're muted now. Yeah, so technology is not with us today. What's going on? I apologize for this, and I'm sure that Alvaro is feeling pretty bad about it. Poor guy. But yeah, no, not stressing about it, but it's been 15 minutes, so I hope that we can get this under control soon, so we can actually enjoy his story. He's been doing some cool stuff lately.
So muting temporarily is not an option because of big markers. So we'll just go as it is, and I'm really sorry. So going back to your question, Ariel, what made me want to join Microverse? Honestly, like I was reached out. I received an email from you. You explained like what was Microverse, and I have been looking for similar programs to ramp up my career as a software developer in web, and I really like the proposal for Microverse, like this self-paced program, master learning, the curriculum. I had even started like some Rails projects. So when you approach and talk about Microverse, I was like, yeah, this is what I want. I also remember that I said like, hey, is it a problem that I'm in Mexico City, because I have found similar programs that were only for the US and Canada. And you said like, no, absolutely no problem with the fact that you're in Mexico. And that's when I said, okay, I'm in. I'm 100% in.
Our first four students was, Kevin from Kenya, Sava from Serbia, then we have Michael from California, and Alvaro from Mexico. And when I heard that Alvaro was asking about whether it was okay to join from Mexico or not, I was like, yes, heck yeah. Like, the more countries, the better. And, the more diverse, I was always being part of the experience we want to create. So, we were actually really glad that you were joining from Mexico. So I'm pretty sure, Alvaro, the experience you went through as a Microverse student looked pretty different to the way the Microverse experience looks today. And you know what it looks today, more or less, I think, because you now work for Microverse. So, like, how does it compare? How was it for you, and how is it different today?
Every time I have like this thought in my head, that I'm like, oh my god, people joining now. It's so great to see all the tools they have, and I think of myself like a caveman, like just discovering fire, because yeah, it was so very. I think by that year 2018 when I joined, I think by the end of 2018 we were like 20 people or something. It was still very small, and there were no defined process. Like we just had the curriculum, and we were working with our coding partners, and every month we were I don't know, we got some feedback from the Microverse team on how to do it better, but we had a lot of I don't know how to say it. And we got a lot of freedom. Freedom is not the word, but it's just like we were said like, okay, here's the curriculum, here are your projects, just work on the curriculum, work on your projects, and eventually someone will be able to review them. So one of the things that I see now that I would have enjoyed back then was, for example, the daily stand-ups for the algorithm sessions. That would have been great, because I remember many times I would be stuck with one of the algorithm sessions, and I would feel so bad, like, oh my god, I can't believe I cannot solve this thing. It is, and I would try I would get like tunnel vision trying to figure out something, and many times just talking about the problem with my coding partner really helped, and having a daily stand-up with more people, I guess would have been very helpful to say like, oh, you just need to twist this little thing and boom, you're done. So that's one of the things that I wish I would have had back there.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of our current students joining today, but I'm going to give some context also for anyone who is joining who is not a Microverse student, like full-time student. As of today, I think I just checked, and we have 465 full-time students today, including the class that starts like this coming Monday. So when you joined our, you were like 4 people. Then when you graduated, we were like at 20 people. The way it looks now at 465, it's very, very different. Not just because of the numbers, but also because of the co-reviews and all the process and the stand-up teams and the daily routine looks very different. But something that I find really cool, and I would love to hear how students feel about it, is that when someone asks a question today on a Slack, I typically see people answering that question sometimes in like 60 seconds. And I'm like, wow, like, imagine Alvaro, if you could have gone in that, Slack channel with answers in 60 seconds, that would have been so, so different.
Yes, 100%. We had a Slack, back then, but yeah, the network of support for students that exists today is just great. I remember, for example, with the even with the projects, like I really had to time very well my questions, because I know it could take like, I don't know, more than an hour, sometimes even a day within the back and forth for reviews. So yeah, I think one of the things that Microverse has done really well is like build this network for support of the students.
What were your like job expectations when you joined Microverse? Like, what were you hoping to get at the end of the journey?
I had been pursuing like some sort of, I keep using like the word international. I wasn't still like very sure about the remote opportunity. I was very attracted by it. I really wanted to try the remote experience, and I guess only that, and being able to work with an international team. I really wanted to see like how the technology landscape was in other places, and I didn't have like any particular country in mind, but I just wanted to know how things were outside of my country, and being able to collaborate with people from all around the world. And well, that happened for me. So I'm super happy about that.
How long it took you to finish the program? I don't remember really well.
9 months. I started March 2018, and I finished like, I don't know. I'm gonna say December the 23rd, because I'm sure I took the
For
holidays.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, with the self-paced program, I see many people often feeling bad because they take too long, or feeling great because they take too little. And there is not a lot of correlation between the length. Like, if you need some more time, it doesn't mean that that's better or worse, as long as you're making it to the end, and as long as you're committed every day to the program. And I think Alvaro is one of those cases where he did really well, even though it took him a little bit longer than what we had seen in other cases. But here you are. So what was the process once you graduated? What was the process to start applying to jobs, and how do you prepare to apply to those jobs?
So the process to apply for jobs, LinkedIn has always worked very well for me. Like, in January 2019, I got a job offer from Microsoft. Well, they were doing like some sort of event to like hire people from Mexico City, and I think they interviewed at their offices. They reached out over LinkedIn, and I also received like a first approach from Amazon back in 2018 via LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has worked really well for me. As for the interview process, the interviews from these like international companies have been one of the most exhaustive interviews I've ever had. Usually, I think in both it was like 4 hours, because you interview with 4 different people. 1 hour with each person, and usually like there's one I call the quote easy one, where they talk about like the culture of the company, and it's just like questions about like personality, what have you done. That's like the quote easy one. The other 3, just the person introduces themselves, and they just like give you a little background, and then they're like, okay, let's jump into the action, and they just ask you like a coding coding problem. There are many famous ones like more than Fizzbuzz or whatever. Right now, I can only remember with Microsoft there was one about like working with a matrix and trying to print it in a spiral order. But you get problems like that with each of the person that interviews you. So yeah, it's a really exhaustive process with these big companies. And I also had a couple of ones. I had one for a local company from Mexico that worked with Rails, and I had to build like some sort of API that could get some requests for data and deliver the data in a JSON format. And it took me like a week to get that project done.
Wow. I remember the day you actually did the interview with the spiral, like you had to do the matrix, like look through it in a spiral way, and you made me think about it, and I started thinking how I would solve it. That was a fun one actually. I like that question a lot. It's not a trivial one to answer, but it's a good one to test how someone thinks.
I felt super lucky because like I started doing some of these questions, and I had practiced that question. So I was like, yes, I'm super happy like this one popped up because it's one of the problems that I had like practice, and I was able to do it. Oh well, this was also like you code on a whiteboard, which also, if you're very dependent on an IDE or something, it can be troublesome. So yeah, it's good to code on pen and paper sometimes.
Did you go through any kind of interview prep with Microverse? Because definitely we put a lot of work on that now with the career coaches and the professional skills curriculum. And how was it for you?
I was pointed out to some resources, and back then Kevin was also on a sort of interview process. So we did like 1 or 2 mock interviews for that. But yeah, it was less structured than it is now.
I think at that point I was still probably reviewing your resume, your LinkedIn profile. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. That was before we hired Riley, which was the first person that took that responsibility over from me, and now there are like 5 coaches working full time, and and that team is like growing the fastest in the company. So how was it that after all these interviews and this process, you ended up working for Microverse?
It was quite a journey. So I ended Microverse as a student on 2018, and then on 2019, you and Lydia reached out. Lydia had just joined recently to Microverse, and Microverse needed help reviewing the projects of other students. So Microverse reached out to Kevin and I saying like, hey, I know you just finished the program and you're supposed to move to interviews or whatever, but we would like to know if you would be interested to work for the next 3 months reviewing projects for other students. And I said yes. Like, I had enjoyed my experience as a Microverse student, and I saw this as an opportunity like to contribute back to Microverse, and I had really come involved with the community. Like I said, we were like 20 people back then as a student, so it was like a very small and close community, I would say. And I really wanted to give back. I guess I was also like in a privileged position in a sense that I mean I don't have families, so for me like taking 3 or delaying the job search in 3 months was not a big deal. So I decided to join and help.
So you and Kevin were the first like TSCs ever.
Yes.
I had forgotten about that.
and like I said, we were back in ancient times back there. We were cavemen because there was nothing. Like we just like, okay, you have done these projects, so you're familiar with them, you know how to review them, but like there was nothing. One of the first challenges that I approached was like, how can I do this in a systematic way and be objective on like what does it mean to finish the project? When can I say, okay, this is done in a good way for you?
Yeah. How did you feel reviewing projects for other people that you had done like half a year before that?
It was a great experience because I in my previous work experience I hadn't done like a lot of code reviews, or maybe I hadn't even done any kind of code review, and it really made my my brain like think of like, okay, what is it? How can you say that the project is good enough? Like how much of this comes to personal taste, and how much of this comes to say like, okay, this is not. Also, it was great like seeing other people like address the same technical problem. So I remember I would watch something and say like, wow, this person really killed it, or this person solved it in a way that I would have never imagined. I was really impressed by many projects.
And how did you go from just doing the project reviews for like 3 months to then becoming a full long-term member of the Microverse team?
One thing that I think has worked for me, and that I would advise to 21 is what I call being proactive. I would say. So, like I said, back then I was doing like all these reviews, and I was like, okay, I'm having this problem, and I'm sure I'm not the only one having this problem of like how to review the projects. So I was like, how can I make life easier for me and for other people that have to review projects later? So I started working like on some sort of guidelines to decide like how to determine when a project was good enough. And I did this by my own initiative. Like nobody asked me for this, and again, I really wanted to make this like collaborative, something that I would share with other TSCs, although we were only two back then. So it was 3 months of like doing these reviews and working on these guidelines, and by the end of March, my third month, Microverse still needed help like with the review of the project. So I remember Lydia said like, oh, would you mind staying another month? And I trusted so much Microverse that I was like, yeah, like I don't mind. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I know that eventually we'll get to the job part, and that I'll be able to get a job as a web developer. So I said like, sure, I'll take another month. No, I don't mind. Then I took an extra month after that, and that's when Lydia approached and said like, hey, you've been doing a great job here, and I mean, we've known you for quite a while, and we really like all this work that you have done for us. So would you like to join Microverse? And I think I immediately said, well, maybe not immediately. I think I thought it for a day, but I was really happy. I was really happy with what we were doing, or what we're doing still, and I said like, yes.
Perfect. And how was that beginning of the journey? Like what happened once you joined? Like, did you change the kind of work that you were doing? Because initially it was like, project reviews and writing some of those initial guidelines. Was there any change that happened there?
So almost at the same time I joined Microverse, lady approached and said like, hey, we're preparing for Y Combinator. So would you like to come to California and live with the team for 2 months? And I also said yes, and I moved there. And I remember the first months, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, and I also think I felt a bit of imposter syndrome because at some point I finished the guidelines and I transitioned into software development, and for one part it was good that I was able to see like the code base for what is now the student dashboard, and I wasn't completely thrown away. I think I could understand like 50 to 60% of what was that. So I was like, guess I know Ruby. That's good. Ruby and Rails. And then I was just like, it was like trial by fire. It's just like, okay, we need you to come and implement this. And back then I'm still working with Magic. I felt a bit familiar with Magic because he reviewed one of my projects. He reviewed the social network project. That it's the final project for Rails. So it was very interesting to finally know this person that had reviewed my project long ago, and I just started like sending my proposals. He said like, okay, we need you to work on this task, and I would send like a proposal, and I slowly started to learn what was like the work culture for this little dev team with Magic. And like I said, I think the first months were weird, especially after we left California and everybody like went on their own. I feel like I was like a bit lost. But then again, like Magic proposed a work culture with the daily stand-ups, and the daily stand-ups really helped me a lot. I'm really I don't know what's the word, but I'm surprised that the way we work is very similar as developers. Is very similar to the experience as a Microverse student, and really the daily stand-ups help me a lot, because sometimes I would just go and check my notes. The notes I've made for the daily stand-up, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I said yesterday that I wanted to work on today. So yeah, I got a little bit of that, but eventually like was able to overcome that imposter syndrome, and I have received very good feedback from my team, and I'm super happy with what I'm doing right now.
What do you think is something that people who are getting into, their first job as entry-level developers, what do you think is something important that they need from those jobs?
There's two things, and one of it has come during the program. One is like make questions as a junior. I know it can be intimidating when you just join. You want to like project this image of like I know what I'm doing, I can do the job. But don't be afraid to make questions as silly as it can be. I mean, even now I keep doing these things. Yesterday, I was working on some feature, and one of my colleagues asked like, "Hey, can you put the information on the thread related to that feature?" And I felt a bit silly, but I answered like, "I don't know where is that thread. Can you point me to that thread?" And so like even now I keep having like these moments where I'm like, I really need to ask for this, or even don't be afraid to ask for help. I guess would be like another advice. Don't be afraid to show like, hey, I don't know this. And the only asterisk I would put to this is, again, try to be proactive. Like it's not enough just saying like, oh, I don't know what to do, and then cross your arms and wait for the answer. Try to do what I call like keep the ball running. It's like, okay, I have tried this, I have tried this other thing. It's still not enough. So try to give the person you're asking for help as much information as you can on like what have you tried and what are you missing.
What does the like a day look like for you now working remotely as a developer?
It's people that are able to experience like living with me for a while are intrigued, because I like to just like get out of the bed and start coding, and that's because I think I'm a morning person, so I really wanna like do the heavy duty at the beginning of the day, and like I said, I just like start my morning by coding, and I don't know, by 10 or 11 in the morning, I have like some proposal of a feature or something I'm working on. And usually by lunchtime, I think I'm done with most of my responsibilities, and I can take a little bit of the afternoon, like to work on emails or something like that, and then I have the rest of my afternoon free, which is great. And I really like this freedom that remote work allows, of defining your own schedule. Like I keep thinking, like, if I have to go to the office, would I go at 6 in the morning, just like I'm doing right now?
Are you starting at 6 in the morning?
Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow, that's early.
No, yeah, and people look at me like, are you insane? And again, I'm not saying this is the way to do it for everyone. It's what works for me.
No, yeah, I always say the reason number one why I am an advocate of remote work is because it's what I want for myself, because of the freedom that it gives me, right? The freedom to live the life the way I wanted, to organize the day the way I wanted, to be where I want to be, where it makes me the happiest. So it's cool to see how different people take that in different ways. Some early people, like early birds, they prefer to start at 6 a.m. Other people like working at night, and I love that we can support that.
There was a part in my life when I was commuting, and it was like an hour and a half to get to my job, and an hour and a half to get back. And I mean, 3 hours of your day just commuting. It's insane. And here in Mexico City, traffic it's a problem. So yeah.
I've seen that traffic myself, and it's a very big city with many people. Yeah. So what is one or two things that you learned while you were at Microverse that you're using like every day now in your job?
I think it really gave me like a basis of discipline, we have joked about like this phrase. I can't remember when we were talking about this, but in a certain way, Microverse was like this very big 9-month interview process that not only taught me like the technology stack, but also like taught me how to be a remote developer, because I was working on my own. Like I knew what I had to do every day. Like you have your the curriculum all laid out, so you know where did you stop last day, and there's nobody like looking at you like saying, hey, are you really working on what you said you were working? No, it was really self-paced, and it's the same for me right now with all the features. Like I know what I was working on yesterday. I know what I want to do, and yeah, it really helped me like become more self-disciplined.
Yeah, it's something that, to be honest, looks a little bit different today. And when you are like a manager, like the founder of a company, you don't want to control the number of hours that your, team members are putting in. That's the recipe to be a bad manager. When we work with students, it's different. We do want to make sure that they are putting daily commitment, because we know that at the end is that accountability to keep pushing every day that makes people build the habits. So once they get to a job, they don't need that pressure anymore. They're just self-guided and they have that routine to work like that every day. So at the beginning, we put a lot of emphasis on that precisely to help the people build a habit. And typically by the time they graduate, they're already pretty comfortable doing that. And it really prepares you. That's our our goal with that. It's like that it prepares you to spend the whole day coding independently as a remote worker, or as any kind of worker, without needing your boss to tell you to do so. Just know that that's what you're supposed to do.
It's funny because I really keep coming back to things that I had already done in Microverse. Like I said, after like 2 or 3 months of like working for Microverse as a developer, we introduced daily stand-ups, which are now a thing of Microverse. And also back then we were doing time tracking. I'm doing way more time tracking than I did back then, and I actually like to check like how much time I take for each feature. And nobody's asking me for these metrics. These are metrics for myself, because I really want to know like how to give good estimates of how much did it take me to do this feature, how much am I spending on like writing tests or things like that. So
cool. Where do you see yourself in 2 or 3 years, Alvaro? I want to know this so we can support you to make it happen.
I've had a very good like, I don't know. I think I'm growing a lot. Still here. I still cannot decide if I want to go further on the technical side and like become, I don't know. I don't care much about the title, but it's more like I want to become like a senior dev or someone that has like a bigger technical knowledge, or do I want to move more into a managing position? I've heard some feedback from colleagues that I have some somewhat good soft skills, so I don't know if I would like to be in a mixed management position where I can still code, or if I want to become like the technical guru that knows these dirty, well, not dirty, but obscure thing about like coding. I don't know.
Well, this is a very typical dilemma, and sometimes not even that people want to go into managerial roles, is that the career forces you to go in that direction. And some of the best companies who support great software engineers, like Google, they will give you the option to not become a manager, because if what you really love doing is just coding, why will we make you stop coding, right? So it's an important decision to make, and I think the best way to actually make the decision is to try managing people a little bit. And when you get the chance to do it, you realize how different it is and how much energy and time it consumes. So it leaves very little time to do the kind of work that as a developer you need, which is very focused, like deep work. But some people really like it. I really like it. To me, it is when you can bring the right people together into a team, and you can get everyone aligned and passionate about what you're trying to do, and then everyone starts building little things, and you can see how the pieces connect to each other, and magically you were able to build something so complex and big that you could have never built by yourself, but you were the kind of the glue that put all the pieces together. It's a terrific feeling. But of course, it comes with the price of, people, motivation. And, of course, they want to grow in their careers, and they have personal issues, and they have issues with their colleagues. And you have to be the one also like helping, deal with all those things, which for a lot of people, it's, hell, they just want to go back to coding. But I think it's a good idea to get that experience. So we'll trying to find a way, Alvaro, to give you that experience, hopefully inside, so you get to experience how it feels. So, hopefully we hire, a new developer at some point, a new junior developer, maybe another Microverse student, and you get to experience that. So, okay, before we move into questions from other people who have joined today, what are some, maybe a tool, a book, or something that you want to recommend to all the people like watching today who are starting their careers as software engineers?
Two things that I mentioned and that I'm doing myself. I listened to a lot of podcasts, and one talks about like not yearly goals but yearly themes, and one they were mentioning something called the year of intentionality, and this goes along with time tracking. So I really recommend everyone to dip their toes into time tracking. Again, not to try to get I work X amount of time today and I feel bad about it. It's more like to get that insight. We believe in data. We're a data-driven company here in Microverse, and I think following that approach into your life, it really helps, because sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just gonna take a quick break on social media for 5 minutes, and then you're like, oh, where did the last hour go? So it's really good to know how much time you're spending on doing things and being intentional to say okay, I'm gonna intentionally spend half an hour on social media or whatever. So I would recommend that 100%. Also recently,
what is the name again?
Oh, so just time tracking. You can use anything
in general, you mean? Okay, perfect.
Clockify, Toggle. I use Toggle, but the service is not that important. It's just the fact that you say, okay, for the next 30 minutes, I'm just gonna intentionally do this or whatever. That's another thing. I also really like the Pomodoro Breaks. That works for me. So it's just I work for 25 minutes and then I take a 5-minute break and stretch my legs, check my phone or whatever. That works like a charm for me. So Pomodoro, I really recommend. And a book. Technical book, but I really liked Sandy Metz's Object-Oriented Programming. It helped a lot to the things that I'm doing, and I don't know, the way she explains object-oriented concepts, and she also uses Ruby. It was just I love that book.
I've seen that book being mentioned in Slack very often. I haven't read it myself, but I'm tempted to. I miss my coding days. Talking about management. Once a week, this thought comes to my mind, I want to go back and do some coding. And I've been coding since I was 12, and I haven't coded a single line probably in a year now. So I'm missing it. I'm glad you're getting a chance to do that, Alvaro, and you can keep doing that for as long as you want. Let's jump to don't worry.
I need to.
We can go back to start looking at questions from the people. Let's give Alvaro a second, and we're gonna. By the way, remember everyone, 2 things that I've seen this question being asked there. Yes, we are recording the event, the webinar. We're gonna be sharing it with everyone. So probably tomorrow or maybe on Monday, if you go to the website of the webinar, there should be a way to watch it. So don't worry about it. You can watch it later. You can share it with anyone you want. And the second thing is, remember, you can go to the Q&A section of the window on the right side and just ask any question you have for Alvaro. So we have now 10 minutes to go through some of the questions, and we have a lot of questions. We're not going to be able to go through all of them, but we'll try to do as many. Okay, I think so that mad. Alvaro is back.
Yeah, I'm so mad because I really the place where I'm staying right now, the internet connection was not really good. So I did a little research on places from where to take the lunch and learn, and everything that could have gone wrong today has gone wrong. So I really apologize.
No, don't worry. I mean, we were able to fix the thing with the quality of the audio, and I think at least on my side, I was able to, understand you perfectly. So I hope that was the case for almost everyone. And this is some of the things where it is so important to invest as software, well, professionals in general working remotely. Of course, it's having a place that you can work every single day that gives you this routine, that gives you an environment where you can work in focus mode. Also investing in like in good hardware, like good headphones and all that stuff. But of course, when you're like moving more, and I had this experience on the first year we were running Microverse. I spent the whole year in Asia mostly. I lived 3 months in Vietnam, 3 months in Indonesia, 1 month in India, 1 month in Thailand. And I remember, like, it was great to enjoy that freedom, but then you pay the price of, some of your productivity goes to like finding a new co-working space, a new coffee that you can go to every day, a new internet connection that it's stable every single day. But it's part of the price of enjoying that freedom. But it's good that you can do that. So yeah, let's go with questions. The first one, I'm not surprised to see it, but I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit. It's about salary, and I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit just to not ask you to share any specific number, but how is the salary that as a remote developer you have access to compared to the local salaries that you had seen before, at least in Mexico City?
It's it's way higher. It's the only thing I guess I can share. Even with peers, like of course I have friends developers, and I have checked, and I really on a privileged position because it's higher than many of my peers.
Perfect. Okay, the next question from Maria is, what are your main attributions in your work in Microverse? So, what have you launched? I guess which features have you built while you were in Microverse as a developer? Oh no, we lost Alf. Yes, he said everything that could go wrong with the connection today is going wrong. Well, let's give him a few more minutes, and then I can go back to those questions. I can answer that question as a proud founder of Alvaro. He's been the one behind a lot of the new functionality in the dashboard that allows like TSCs to claim projects that they want to review for other students. And now he's been working recently on launching the way for students to rate TSCs, so we can get all that information about how TSCs are working. And I think Alvaro is back. Alvaro, you're back.
Yes, yes.
I was
Like I
just I
said,
was just basically answering on your behalf about the work you have been doing with the TSC system and the dashboard and how they're claiming all of that.
I could still see you. I could still see you, but yeah, the big marker app doesn't allow to switch off the microphone without switching off the video, which is dumb, but it's okay. And now I have to move to the street because the coffee place had a lot of music. Anyway, yeah, the first thing I built was like the whole review system, because like I said, I had some sort of experience as the first TSC, and I was just working that initially. That took a while, like to perfect and get to the right balance of like how to ask for a code review, how to track your progress based on that. And right now I have moved through the whole application. Honestly, I've done all sorts of things. Recently, I helped with the capstone projects. Right now, we're working on a feature to allow like different program versions for different students, and I've done all sorts of things. Also, I really like to work sometimes on like enhancement, optimizations, and refactors when I get the time. So that's also a thing that I have been able to work on, and a lot of things for career services too.
One question that is quite interesting is, what do you think is the importance of having a bachelor's degree to start the career? Like, or like not having one, do you think it can affect you significantly?
That's a very good question, and I'm still stuck on that one. Before going to California, I had a friend that was like in this in between, like, oh, should I still pursue like a bachelor's degree or something? And I recommended Microverse 100%. I said like, you know what? If you're not sure, I would say go for Microverse 100%, especially because it requires like a lower a lower time commitment. Like a bachelor's degree here in Mexico City, it's like 4 years. So I said, like, go for Microverse, try it first, and then you decide if you want your bachelor's degree or not. Going back to the original question, yeah, I'm sorry, but I think it's not that important. Like, I really haven't used many of the things that I learned on the while I was in college. So I don't think it's really that much of a deal. But that's like my personal experience from living in Mexico City and for my college. And so I cannot like generalize still, but from my point of view, it's not that important.
So far, from the data we have, only 50% of our students have a bachelor's degree. Less than 25 have something related to computer science. And in terms of people getting to jobs, we're not seeing any correlation between that bachelor's degree and the possibility of getting a job. It does affect if you have previous experience as a developer, of course. If you have been working locally for 2-3 years, that's gonna make it easier to get your first job because you already got a job before. So another question related to that for you, Alvaro, is like, how much knowledge did you had on coding before joining Microverse, and how much of that helped you get the job at Microverse? Someone was asking that question to me as the person who helped make that hiring decision. I want to hear how was that. How do you see that? I'm going to answer that myself.
Like I said, I had worked as a freelancer for game development and embedded systems, but like this was a whole different beast, like JavaScript and Rails and everything. Like there's some paradigms that stay, like object-oriented programming and best practices and things like that. But honestly, like I didn't use a lot of the things that I knew from before. It was, in a certain way, it was like a starting blank, because I really needed to learn like certain deal with the framework. And I think what helps from previous experience is that I'm less afraid. So since I'm less afraid, I'm like, okay, I've been able to learn like C# and Unity for games, or I've been able to learn like plain C for embedded systems. So it just gives me this trust of like, I can do this. I may not know how to do it now, but I know I will eventually get the knack of it, and it's what happened.
Yeah, no, I remember this, and we didn't ever look at your resume or anything like that to just make that decision. Like we didn't even look at that, and I had been the one who had reviewed your resume and helped you like polish it. I didn't even remember this part when we made the hiring decision. It was solely made based on Alvaro's work during the program, and then the things that he was mentioning before, like the proactiveness, not just doing the work. I'm gonna review projects. Like, I'm gonna review, but how can I do that better? I'm gonna write like guidelines so my reviews are more consistent. And hey, is there anything else that I can help with? It was that attitude that, of course, if as Alvaro said, if you had done a version of that before, it sometimes gives you the confidence boost to believe that you can do those things. But even you mentioned, Alvaro, that you felt imposter syndrome while you were in Microverse, and you even felt that even after you started working as a developer for Microverse. And I think this is very common for everyone. Like I've been working for, what is that, like 10 years now, and I still feel imposter syndrome as an entrepreneur all the time, and as a CEO all the time, because the reality is that if you're not feeling like you're doing something that you're not the best at every day, you are not actually learning every day, right? You're learning when you are outside your comfort zone. So I think part of learning and growing, it is being comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that doesn't mean that you're not prepared for those jobs. Often it's just this attitude that makes you the right candidate for a job. It's not so much your previous experience.
100%, 100% agree with you.
Someone was asking, what was the biggest frustration you faced during the program, and how did you manage it?
Great question too. My experience originally with my coding partner, like it being remote, and I also had like no experience working remotely with another person. It was kind of hard to get into to get in sync. But I also said like, okay, this is new for me. Let's give it a shot. And all the time I was trying to to look for ways of like, okay, what is not working for me and how can we make it better? So I would propose things to my coding partner like, hey, do you mind if we do Pomodoro? So we do like 25 minutes and then we take like a 5-minute break or things like that, or even thinking in the vision of like how we wanted to make our projects helped a lot. And I guess what I could say is just like what I learned from that experience is communication. Like really tell like what your expectations are, what you want to do, what you're trying to do. So in the beginning, it was a rough thing, like synchronizing with my coding partner. But eventually, like I really saw the benefits of it. Like I remember sometimes I would get I'm a perfectionist-ish, and one of the things I've learned is to say like, okay, this is good enough. So my coding partner helped me with that. He was like, hey, do you really need to take this thing to the max level, or should we move to the next project? And I was like, yeah, you're right. We've done enough with this, and let's move to the next thing.
Someone was asking a question that is actually connected to this, I think, which is the speed to find solutions, is it essential for a web developer?
Can you repeat?
Is the speed to find solutions essential for a web developer?
Not necessarily. Trying to think how to talk about this, because it, like many things, I hate this answer because it counts on many things. But it is a thing of balance, of course. It's like, is the speed important? It's like, well, if you take 3 months to build a small feature, it's like, yeah, I guess yes. But other times, again, you just have to learn to say like, okay, this is good enough. And I have never thought about it actually. Like sometimes I can stumble upon a thing and get stuck, and usually by the next day I just get it. Or like if I know it has taken 1 or 2 days, which is like kind of normal thing, that's when I say like, oh, you know what, this is causing me more trouble than I expected. So I'll ask for help, or I'll just talk to my team and say how else we can do this. So I guess it's not that important. Sorry if it's not a great answer, but
no, I mean, I agree with you. It's speed. There is something much more important, which is communication, right? It's exactly what you said. It's like, especially as an entry-level developer, sometimes you're working on something that is actually hard, and your manager, a senior developer, might say like, yeah, no, this is hard, just keep trying. And sometimes you're just stuck on something that someone who has done it before, they see the problem in like 30 seconds. So understanding when to ask questions and to communicate what you're doing, it's helpful so other people can tell you if you're in the right track or not. But sometimes just things like take time, and writing, finding the balance between writing, great software and writing just finding a solution. It's important where you have to write a good software, but if that takes, if that perfectionism makes it so it takes, twice as long, but it's not twice as good, then maybe it's not necessary to make it, that perfect or that good. But yeah, so we're way past the hour. Well, 7 minutes past the hour. Thank you so much, Alvaro, for your time. Thank you also, most importantly, for the amazing work that you do every day at Microverse. Thank you for being, the guinea pig as a student, as a TNC, with the, with almost everything. A lot of the things that students are having access today are thanks to the experience that you went through, that we use to like improve things. And hopefully the experience that people are going through today will help shape what people will experience in a year and 2. And I can't wait to get some of our current students to like interview them in a year or so, and see how it compares to the experience that we have now for students. So thank you again, Alvaro, and thank you everyone else for for attending today, for participating. Just for for a little bit of context, because we have a lot of people are students, but some people who joined today are not students. Our program is a full-time program. That's a very common question. It takes a lot of dedication. We receive around 10,000 people who apply every month. Many people can join because they might not have the skills they need yet, but often because they cannot really be fully dedicated full time, and we know that's a big limitation. But as of today, it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of like deep work, focus work, and we need people to be prepared for that. But we were just looking at numbers, and 86% of the graduates are getting to jobs within 12 weeks as of today. So we're really excited with the results that we're seeing. Alvaro is kind of an exceptional case where he ended up working for Microverse, but he's the only graduate who today is working at Microverse. And we hope that you stay with us for a long time, Alvaro. But most importantly, we are really excited to see you grow every day. And by the way, someone asked about the payments of the ISA. I forgot about that question, and I think Alvaro was the first student ever to finish paying the ISA completely. So that was a huge accomplishment, also, and a celebration. But thank you everyone for joining us today, and please take care of yourself, take care of each other, of your families, and also, and this is a very specific ask that I want to make today, which is become advocates for remote work. A lot of people will have to work and will have to go and work remote these upcoming weeks because of the virus. It is extremely overwhelming for them, for most people who to work from home most of the time. Most of you as Microverse students, you are already very proficient remote workers, even though you might still feel like imposter syndrome, and it might feel like really hard. Go and talk to people. You have a lot of experiences and knowledge to share with other people who are doing this for the first time. So please share your knowledge and become advocates of remote work, because you have learned a lot of great things that will be really helpful for other people. So take care, and thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again for another Lunch and Learn very, very soon. Bye, Alvaro. Bye, everyone.